Hi everyone. In this video, I want to talk about a mnemonic device that I use to remember the sine and cosine values for all of the angles in the first quadrant. So in particular, we're interested in our learning angles, or sometimes called the special angles, and they're these ones that I listed across here: 0, pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3, and pi over 2. So these are special angles because they correspond to 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. And so when we're learning trigonometry, these are nice values that come up, and people often use them in different problems. So they're good to have on hand. All right, so I always start by creating this table. So I have this framework here, and what I need to do is just think about this one thing. I'm going to take a square root of something and divide it by 2. So this is going to be my framework. Every entry is going to look like this. Now, if you study trigonometry for just a little bit, you see that these values square root of 3 come along, and square root of 2 over 2, and square root of 3 over 2. So I'm always thinking about this structure, this square root of something divided by 2, and I just can't really often place it. Where do they go? And so this is what the mnemonic device helps me with. So the way I like to think about this is you can remember these if you can go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the mnemonic device. So when you're thinking about reference angles in the first quadrant, you think to yourself, all right, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got this framework up here, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and those numbers are going to go in here. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to take my framework and I'm going to start here where the table starts. I'm going to do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right across the top. And so it turns out that these are all the correct values. They don't look like it right off the bat because we need to do some cleaning up. And so the first thing I'm going to do is think about the square root of 0 divided by 2. Well, the square root of 0 is 0. And if I divide that by 2, I still get 0. So I can clean this up. And this is just 0. All right, so the next spot, the square root of 1, that's just 1. And so if I clean this up a little bit, this is the same thing as 1/2. The square root of 2 over 2, that's going to stay just like it is. The square root of 3 over 2, that's going to stay just like it is. And if I come to the last one, the square root of 4 divided by 2, well, the square root of 4 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is just 1. So let's clean that up, and then we'll put our 1 down here on the end. So what this is telling me is the sine of 0 is 0. The sine of pi over 6 is equal to 1/2. The sine of pi over 4 is the square root of 2 over 2. The sine of pi over 3 is the square root of 3 over 2. And the sine of pi over 2 is 1. Okay. So you're probably asking yourself now, all right, well, what's the trick for cosine of theta? How do I get this row? And you actually have done all the hard work. All you need to do is put down all of the same values except in the reverse order. So the way I like to do it is I like to start over here. And so the path that I think about is I come down this way, and then I'm going to come back this way. Okay, so I'm going to write all the same values. So 0, 1/2, square root of 2 over 2, square root of 3 over 2, and then a 1 here. Okay, and so this table is very useful, and it's one of these things where I don't need to memorize all the values, but if I keep telling myself, all right, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, if I remember the framework and 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, I can quickly write down this table and then I have something that I can reference. So I hope this helps you out in the future. I'll see you for the next video.